Okay, for this 100 Days Minecraft video, I have a really special one. So I went and got the Floo Network's Hogwarts Harry Potter mod, and this changes basically everything. It's a full open world Harry Potter RPG built within Minecraft, and has the whole of Hogwarts that's explorable with tons of quests, secrets, dark wizards, dark magic, flying broomsticks, and more. And if you do enjoy the video, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video, and commenting below what you liked about the video. And also, this mod is pretty massive, so I definitely recommend checking out the mod, which will be in the description below. So here we go, and I hope you enjoy. On day 1, I get my letter letting me know I've been accepted into Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But instead of picking it up, the first thing I do is explore. I explored the surroundings because, I mean, just look at how incredible Privet Drive looks, and you never really get the chance to explore the non-Wizarding world in a Harry Potter game. So I was going to take full advantage of this while I could. So I ran around the neighborhood for a while, and to be honest, there wasn't any secrets. I did find the night bus though, and Stan, but I assumed this would be something to do later, so I went back to actually look at that letter. It could actually have just been spam for all I knew. Thankfully it wasn't spam, and I was accepted into Hogwarts. Completing the quest, a jingle played. It was meant to be Harry Potter sounding, but to me it sounded like something from Disney. The next day I got on the night bus and arrived at the Leaky Cauldron. There was a lot of interesting people here and brooms that were floating and cleaning the floor. I left the Leaky Cauldron and was amazed to see that you could actually explore the whole of London, and it looked just like London. The pigeons were flying away, it was very cinematic, and I knew I would get lost exploring this, so I went back and I knew I needed to find the entrance to Diagon Alley. I finally found the reason the Leaky Cauldron was called, well, the Leaky Cauldron. Turns out there's a massive cauldron in the middle, so I don't know how I never noticed this till now. At the back was Rubius Hagrid. He told me to tap the brick, and oh my gosh, they actually modeled the brick separating just like the movie. And then that introduced me to the incredible Diagon Alley. I walked around and there was a lot of students here and a lot of stores as well, many from the book series and many you'd never been able to get to in a Harry Potter game. It was honestly surprising to think that this was still Minecraft. It felt like its own video game. I tried to purchase stuff from the Weasleys but realized, hey, I don't have any money, so I went to the bank that was run by the goblins. The bank had a warning, and it was basically, don't steal the treasure or you'll be killed by a dragon. I mean, it didn't say that exactly, the actual sign was more poetic, but that's what it means. The goblin I talked to had soulless black eyes. He was not friendly looking and very scary. Ignoring that warning and don't be a thief, I tried being a thief and going down into the Gringotts vault. I quickly found out though I couldn't see a single thing, so I eventually left and would maybe go there later. The next task I had to do was to get a suitable wand, and I had to search the wand shop and try them out. Now, the wand shop was not well organized and very dark. I did manage after a bit of searching to get all the wands, and then I was allowed to try the wand. A lot of the wands didn't work for me, but the wand of Rowan Soft and pliable with a phoenix tail feather core was a perfect fit. It's definitely not a coincidence. So now I had a wand, and I now needed books, I guess. I purchased some books I needed for class, and spoilers, these books would not help for any classes whatsoever. So looking back now, it's a complete waste of my time and my coin. I then had to get my clothes, which was generic house robes. Not gonna lie, this also seems like a waste of money for two reasons. Firstly, you get sorted immediately when you get to Hogwarts, and secondly, for some reason I thought to just add Slytherin clothes to my Minecraft skin, since on Pottermore I'm a Slytherin, and they are the best house. But getting back to my point, I was just going to be given clothing in the mod, so me adding the Slytherin skin turned out to be completely pointless. But now I had to exit Diagon Alley and basically run throughout London. And London, well, London was big. Like, really, really big. So, speeding things up, I kind of wanted to see what it was like jumping in the river. However, when I jumped in, I found it quite hard to get out the river. Panicking a bit, I slowly came up to the London Eye. Very detailed Minecraft structure, the London Eye. Like, that's a crazy amount of detail to have when London ain't exactly the main draw of the Hogwarts mod. After a while I made it to King's Cross and ran through platform 9 3/4, and I didn't break all my bones and found the Hogwarts Express. I also found Neville, who had lost his toad, and I had to find that toad, so I searched the platform, and I found gold and treasure chests, but after an absolutely long time of searching this platform, I still could not find that stupid toad. Luckily, the Hogwarts Express didn't take off, though it would be very late by the time I got to Hogwarts eventually. After getting really bored of trying to find this toad, I made it onto the top of the Hogwarts Express and tried reenacting that scene from the Polar Express. While having fun on the top, I found the stupid toad. It was on top of the train. Now, the students I asked said they spotted the toad on the other side of the platform, so I searched for this toad for actually half an hour, and it was on top of the train. I was not getting enough money for finding this toad. And with that done, I could now board the Hogwarts Express and finally get to Hogwarts. Well, hopefully, there better not be any more toads. Arriving at Hogwarts, or to be more accurate, the Scottish Highlands surrounding Hogwarts, I followed Hagrid and he led me towards the boat. So getting on the boat, I sailed towards the castle known as Hogwarts. Walking up the moonlit paths, the castle was grand in scale and it just looked incredible. Entering the Great Hall, I talked to the Sorting Hat and answered the quiz. Basically the same one from Pottermore, and I got sorted into the best house of them all, Slytherin, where power and ambition were most valued. I would truly turn out to be a great wizard. Speaking to the Weasley brothers in a very close manner, they gave me the Marauder's map, which would let me fast travel around the Hogwarts ground and most of the Wizarding world. Along the way I met a fellow Slytherin fellow, Draco Malfoy, and learned a bit about Mudbloods and the Wizarding families. I then explored some of the Slytherin common room and then went on to try and find the Charms classroom. Now, with the shaders I had on, which were the ones the creators said to use, I mean, they looked amazing, but they were dark, really dark, and the corridors of Hogwarts were also just very dark in general, so I got lost pretty easily. After a lot of me being lost, I finally found the Charms classroom. Flitwick then told me about the task of the class, which was to find 5 stars with the Lumos charm. It should be easy enough, I thought. I was very wrong. Now, the mod map does have really fitting custom music, and I like it, I do. But this tune that is playing does get very annoying when it loops for the 100th time, and it did because that's how long this task took me. See, the Lumos charm is meant to light up darkness, but unfortunately it cannot be cast unless the game has decided it is dark enough. Now, the game for me was pitch black, but still wasn't letting me use Lumos. I tried multiple different shaders, but it still would not let me light it up, and after 20 minutes of trying to get this working, I eventually just wandered through the darkness and ended up being able to cast Lumos, though it also didn't give me much light, and I still had to find the 5 stars. I actually had to turn the music off for my sanity to be able to complete this task. So cue me wandering around a while looking for these stars, also finding some chests with gold and some other stuff. And then I passed my first class, and the first official mission of the map pack. The next day I had to now learn some defense against the dark arts. It should be fun, and a lot more useful than star collecting charms. It should just be called Mario Studies at this point. While on my way to the classroom though, I once again found Malfoy, and this time he asked me to go with him to Malfoy Manor, so I obviously accepted. Now, arriving at Malfoy Manor, the music changed into a very creepy theme, and the whole place wasn't giving me the most welcoming vibe. Inside the manor was Lucius and Narcissa Malfoy. They were very welcoming, and then Draco wanted me to collect illegal items from Malfoy Manor. Should be easy enough. I don't understand why he brought me to his own house to find items that were illegal. Like, can he not do it himself? But he wanted me to find it, and this manor, it was massive. But I managed to get 4 out of 5 items pretty quickly. Down in the basement, however, I saw just 2 rats that were sitting there, menacingly. I turned away, but the squeaking started, and I knew they'd found me. And they were pretty fast speed. They were climbing up the stairs. I tried to go outside, but they were waiting for me at the top of the stairs. I spent a lot more time looking for the final item, and it was once again taking a while, and the rats were not helping. After collecting all the items, Malfoy then wanted me to go to Diagon Alley and Borgin and Burke. So the next day I went there. Though once arriving there, it was actually Nocturne Alley, which was definitely very suspicious looking, very dark, and very dodgy looking people were here. And a lot of skeletons and dark magic looking stuff in all the windows of the shops. Caracatus wanted me to deliver a hand to a student, and mentioned the mother was widowed 7 times over, which is just rotten luck. I then browsed his wares for stuff that I could buy, and got some dark magic books and a Death Eater mask, which is kind of funny because I then bumped into an actual Death Eater. The next day I was tasked with completing an obstacle course for defense against the dark arts. I unlocked the spell Stupefy. It was a simple enough task, just hit the targets with the Stupefy spell. Further on though, the targets did become moving targets, so it got a bit more challenging. I really had to lead the shots. This was a simple enough obstacle course and I finished it relatively quickly. Or so I thought, until the teacher decided, hey, shooting targets was too easy, so now try shooting enchanted skeletons and spiders. And this was not easy, at all. I was defeated so many times because you can really run out of magicka and the enemies were very hard to actually see in the dark. The spiders were especially tough since they would hide in the ceiling. Finally, after locating the last spider, I had defeated all the waves of enemies. Now, this was a ridiculous class to go from targets to monsters in my first Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson, and all I got for it was a lousy 15 points to Slytherin for battling the undead. After that, the next day I had to locate the potions classroom. Hopefully potions would be a lot less deadly than Defense Against the Dark Arts was, but with Snape as the teacher, I wasn't expecting anything. Now, the potions classroom was in the dungeons, and the dungeons were very dark, so naturally, I got very lost. See, Hogwarts has a ton of secrets and hidden passageways. I ended up underwater and all over the place until I actually got to Professor Snape. Now, Snape's class wasn't that hard. I just had to find potion supplies from various different crates. Finding them, I made my potion and the class was done. My next class was going to be the Charms classroom, so I slept in the Slytherin common room, then went to the Charms class. Thankfully, Charms would surely be the safest of them all since, you know, it's Charms like Wingardium Leviosa. Turns out, I was very wrong, and Professor Flitwick is a legitimate psychopath whose classes have probably led to hundreds of deaths in Hogwarts. With the only words being best of luck, I was locked in an arena, and then hundreds of skeletons fell on me. Instantly I started panicking and firing my spell and flishing my wand rapidly. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't remember this being in the movies. They lifted a feather in the movies and books and taught you how to swish and flick. Here, this maniac hasn't taught me anything but survive the skeletons, and then to make it worse, spiders. A horde of spiders. Safe to say I didn't last very long. I then found out there was legit spike traps in this arena that are very much deadly. So just swish and flick while trying not to get eaten or killed by a horde of undead, and also watch out for the spike traps that will impale you. Thanks, Flitwick, for Charms class. Charms class. No, instead of lifting a feather, it survived my death trap. On way 3, he legit sends dark spirits after you. The first Charms class was collect stars in a dark room. This is survive hell itself. How on earth were they crying in the second movie about one student death means all of Hogwarts gets shut down? Or do they just hide the evidence with these death traps? Even Defense Against the Dark Arts, the class this should happen in, didn't have this level of danger yet? I only know one spell, and it's Stupefy. Here, take on 5+ evil spirits. On wave 4, more skeletons, even more than before, just swish and flick. And then the final wave, oh boy, the final wave. Let's just send everything all at once. And the amount of times I walked into those stupid spike traps, he even sent a troll. He legit made me fight a troll in Charms. Flitwick is the real Dark Wizard of this universe. Not even Voldemort did anything this cruel to our first year. Apart from killing some, but I swear this is worse. And then, after that traumatizing ordeal where my death count went up by a bajillion, what does this small psychopathic man say to me? 10 points. A measly 10 points to Slytherin for surviving hell itself. Once I learn of Avada this guy better watch out. Swish and flick this. After resting after that, the next day Hermione was going to be my teacher. It's a bit weird that a student will teach me, but after that I'll take anything else. All I had to do was find the library, and this took an unreasonably long time, so I'm just gonna skip through me being lost for ages. And here I am at the library, and Hermione wants me to travel to Hogsmeade Village. So I walked through the Scottish Highlands in search of Hogsmeade. It took many days and nights and a lot of looking at signposts to find where Hogsmeade Village was. I really took in the beauty of the mod. It truly was stunning how much it captured the look and feel of the Wizarding world. Eventually, the grass turned into snow and I was close to Hogsmeade Village. I entered the snowy village and it just looked incredible. Very wintry and festive and cold. Now, Hermione had tasked me with hanging 5 notice boards in the village, and what seemed like a very easy task took me many days. And yeah, the less said about why this took me so long, the better. I did find Hagrid though and asked him a question, and he gave me his entire life story, so that was cool. I explored a lot of the shops, and they really added a lot of lore in the mod, from potions to travel tours around the world for wizards. That was very neat. After spending a lot longer than I should have, I eventually went back to Hermione, and she taught me not that much, just one of the most valuable spells the Alohomora charm to open locked doors, and she didn't make me fight in a death chamber to learn it, so big up for Hermione. Wait, never mind, she made me go through an obstacle course. Now, the obstacle course involved a lot of platforming and timed platforming to add, so that was always fun. Safe to say I passed through it with flying colours. In this particular obstacle course, there was also riddles. The classic 2 doors, 2 guards, one's telling a lie and one's telling the truth. The first guard I asked what he thought the second guard would tell me is the right door, and they answered that the second guard would say their own door. The second guard I asked the same question, and they said that the first guard would say that their door is the one that is guarding the way out. Which is a complete lie, since the first guard said their door was the correct one, so solving this, I passed through the correct door. Then I was faced with another riddle. All things it devours, birds, beasts, trees, flowers. Gnaws, iron bite, steel grinds hard stones to meal, slays kings, ruin town, and beats high mountain down. Though, I accidentally ignored the riddle and just went through the first door I saw, which was obviously not correct. See, the problem I was having was the shaders that were recommended were just too dark to see what each door actually said, because they actually had a word above them relating to the riddle. Wind, water, wand, lion, death, and time. Now, I don't know a lion that devoured an entire town, so I went with time. And it was correct, since time eventually beats all. It was a pretty good riddle. And that was the Alohomora puzzle. Not so much opening doors than it was solving riddles and timed platforming, but it was a lot more fun, so it was definitely the best class so far, even though it's technically not a class. And there was no death pits or traps. The next day I was tasked with my first flying lesson. I found Madam Hooch, got on my broom, and was instructed to fly through the hoops. Though I didn't see any hoops. There was also a timer counting how long it was taking me to finish, but for the life of me I could not find these hoops. So eventually, after a long time, and you can actually see how long it took, I went on the official Discord and asked about it, and apparently there's an extra particle setting I hadn't put on. So I could now finally fly through the hoops. So a section that would have taken me 5 minutes tops took 24 minutes, 32 seconds. And the game really said I had to set a new fastest lap, 24 minutes and 32 seconds. The next day I had to go back to the charms classroom. I was ready to be traumatized again. The spell Flitwick was teaching was levitation, so this should be simple in theory. I had to lift the boxes and place them on pressure plates. The mechanics for this were actually really well done, and they were pretty easy to use and get the hang of. Though I was scared to death when the loudest bang ever played and the Book of Monsters started coming out the walls. Now, at this point I was a pretty seasoned wizard and I dealt with a lot of bad things, so I dealt with these things pretty quickly. The puzzles in the next room started functioning like puzzles out of the game Portal, and after a while I finished the levitation class. And it was one of the better ones again and pretty challenging, but without being unfair and just a wave survival. The day after I had defense against the dark arts. You could only imagine what this would involve. So Lupin trapped me in a sewer, and we all love sewer levels in games. Now let me tell you, this area in this is just a whole new level of confusing. It reminded me of the old Tomb Raider games because I was lost here for a long time. Eventually I saw cracks in the pipes and managed to blow them up, which raised the water level and let me swim to the top. I then found myself in a simple office, however it was filled to the brim with poisonous toads and everyone's favourite Cornish pixies. They were just as annoying and creepy as they are in the movies. The next room I then had to do even more fun Tomb Raider-esque jumping, and hit switches to lower down the platforms to get across. I then opened a chest and got a key to the door. I then carefully as possible made my way down. I unlocked the door and had finished Defense Against the Dark Arts. Now this was cool and interesting stuff, but how in the world did Charms Classroom have me fight trolls, skeletons, demons from hell, and Defense Against the Dark Arts had me doing parkour and water puzzles? Is Flitwick just pure evil or something? I explored for a few days, and then my next class was herbology. Absolutely no one's favourite, but I did really like the look of the greenhouses. So at least I was in a nice location and not a grim dark sewer. Professor Sprout wanted me to collect some stars, way easier than fighting Hell's demons, and they were conveniently in the greenhouses, so this would be easy. And then I ran into the mandrake and ow, my ears. This whole class really impressed me though, since the way to get past was to pick up the earmuffs and plant them for a bit, but they do pop back up. But it really captured how the old Harry Potter games played, and the whole thing really felt nothing like Minecraft. The level design was really good in this mod as a whole, except for the death trap room. That was awful. I had to do a bit more parkour and a lot more planting, and this took me all day. I had trouble trying to find the last star. The next class I had to go to after this was Transfiguration, and I think this would be the last class since I'd done potions, flying, defense, charms, or wizard torture as I now call it, and herbology, and with the classes having absolutely no correlation to what their name is, Transfiguration could be many different things. Or it would be simple collecting and parkour again. And the class was very unique. They taught me a new spell that basically made a magnet that would pull very large blocks at me. That did hurt and they would crush me. This actually was just a massive sliding puzzle where I had to make a path to get up by moving a lot of blocks with the magnet, and it was definitely the most complex puzzle I'd encountered so far, and I did a few trial and errors before I could get back up. I spent way too long bouncing on springs because they were a lot of fun, and this whole class was actually just one big labyrinth in massive greenhouses, or some other name, places with lots of glass, emporium maybe? I can't remember. Each building was numbered and there was a unique puzzle in each one, and each one unlocked the other building. One building involved the new spell and moving blocks to climb up. I did spot a secret area though, and found a chest with some fun stuff inside. See, the whole levels and open worlds had tons of secrets, so you should definitely download the mod because it's just incredible. This class in particular was absolutely my favorite. The location was stunning and the parkour was a lot of fun. McGonagall did surprise me, however, at the end by saying I had another class with Lupin. I didn't expect this, so I took a couple days off, explored, and then went to a surprising Defense Against the Dark Arts class. In this class, I learned the Patronus charm, my favorite from the books, and faced off against Dementors that were probably Bogarts, but you can't tell with some of these classes. I had to survive for 2 minutes. I thought, you know what, Lupin, he's a good guy. He will just give me like one Dementor each 10 seconds or something that will let me learn to use the spell. Then the chest opens and it's a Dementor Fiesta, and my Patronus dog didn't do much for me, so I ran for my life and hid for 2 minutes. Yeah, when they come close I used the spell, but it wasn't really effective as, you know, when Harry used it. Now you'd think that would be enough for class, but he had another training area in which he dropped me from a bridge, and I woke up in pure darkness. Absolutely fantastic teaching so far. And once again, I was in a cave, a dark, scary cave with random pillars, and as I soon found out, spike traps. This is just sadistic. This school should be shut down. In fact, Voldemort was right. Hogwarts and all the teachers are the real enemy here. Dropping student victims into their own torture chambers filled with spikes, demons, trolls, cliffs, deaths, dangers, suffering. This place is awful. And after I made it out of the spike traps, I was greeted by more Dementors. This isn't defense against the dark arts, it's defense against the Hogwarts school staff. I eventually found Lupin, tried to use every spell I'd learned on him in revenge, but he was immune. Lupin claimed the bridge was not meant to collapse, which is a load of tripe, since why would there be spike traps down there and chests and Dementors? I ain't buying it, Lupin. So I had finished all the horrible traps the teachers of Hogwarts had put me in, and I was told to travel to the Ministry of Magic. I had finished my term at Hogwarts, and it was a lot shorter than usual, but I had learned a valuable lesson to never trust anyone. But first, I wanted to jump around on top of Hogwarts, because let's be honest, that's everyone's dream. And it really lived up to it. This mod had really made Hogwarts to scale, and it was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. I did this for a while and tried to get in through the windows, but most were locked. Luna Lovegood wanted me to find her belongings, which were hiding in the Room of Requirement. The Room of Requirement was big and had a lot of stuff, but it was just collecting items. There was no danger, so it wasn't too exciting. I then had to find a way to get to the Ministry of Magic. I had to travel back to London and find the telephone box, not the TARDIS, just a basic red one. And my journey at this point had really come full circle, and my experiences had changed me for better or for worse. I had a lot of fun jumping along the streets of London on the poles. I found the magic telephone box and was transported to the Ministry of Magic. It was as grand as ever, and I found an old man who made me pay for a class in apparition. I was quite rich from finding chests, so I could afford the lesson. Apparition let me teleport across gaps, which, as you can imagine, was very good. So I now had a teleport. Now, this area was right from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets video game. It was large platforms across perilous pits that had no right being there, except in this case I had a teleport. Finding the stuff for the dude was simple enough, but as I completed the lesson, a loud boom was heard and Death Eaters had breached the Ministry. And of course the Ministry guy runs away and tells me to fight them. To be fair, the teachers of Hogwarts had accidentally prepared me for this. Though 1 student versus 50 Death Eaters was just a recipe for disaster, who were also somehow immune to the veil, which I wasn't. I was slain a lot. And they also had poison magic. That was fun. And sometimes the Death Eaters wouldn't appear for me, so I did a lot of searching. I found most of my success using the exploding spells on the ground, but the Death Eaters were slippery and teleported around pretty much everywhere. The staff arrived at the best possible timing they could after I had won, and they said there was no evidence of it happening, though I'm sure by the Death Eater bodies laying around that I could loot their clothes and other stuff from, there was plenty of evidence that something had happened. Then Wilkie told me to talk to Dumbledore. In the Grand Staircase, I admired how they made the paintings actually move. That was really cool. And then I visited Dumbledore, who enlisted me into his order, so I went back to London to find the Order of the Phoenix. I took a quick detour to Diagon Alley though, because I had money. And I found a shop selling second-hand brooms, which maybe for people who didn't find chests in Hogwarts would go for, but me, I'm looking for the premium high-end stuff. So I went to find a better store. Now, Diagon Alley had a lot of stores. Actually, the mod really makes you be able to go anywhere, even places not mentioned in the canon. I found the high-end broomstick shop called Broomsticks. Fantastic name. And was ready to get the best of the best. Maybe a Nimbus, maybe a Firebolt. Any would do, honestly, so I asked the store manager, and oh my gosh, 2,000 for a Nimbus. How did I only have 200 coins? How much did that course cost me? I actually don't know how I had this little money. This is mad. I found a golden snitch, one of the collectibles of the mod. They were hidden away everywhere in the open world. I then went to the second-hand broom shop, and I couldn't even afford a basic broom. To be fair, though, the Nimbus was the same price in the second-hand shop as it was in the other shop, so this shop is a complete rip-off. Well, now I realized I had no wealth whatsoever, and I had nothing to lose, so I went to the palace. Inside, I met Mad Eye Moody, who wanted me to fight the Death Eaters. Fair enough, so here we are, the end of the road on top of Azkaban. I would fight the Death Eaters and creatures of the night to the bitter end for the Order. I defeated all the classes, learned so many new spells, of which I would only really use one, the exploding one, and died multiple times to unfair enemies and traps, but Azkaban would be my greatest achievement in the wizarding world. I was blinded instantly and then slain, and this continued for a while. I did take some of them down with me, but it was tough, and I did fall off the top of Azkaban a lot since I could not see. I slew skeleton archers, enchanted armor, and tons of Death Eaters, and then finally, after a grueling and gruesome battle, they took pity on me and let me leave. I then went back to the headmaster's office, and now I could use the pensieve and go back and do all the old classes. Yeah, that wasn't gonna happen. But it was cool they let you do it. But unfortunately, I did accidentally choose one. And I also found out you can't leave until the old class is done again. And of course I'd chosen the one that barely worked for me, the stupid Lumos classroom. So another 100 days later, I finished that god-awful class and was free. I went to the Owlie and found Neville's Toad, and that was it. My time at Hogwarts and the Wizarding World had come to an end. And there had been ups and downs, but this was an insane mod that I highly recommend you check out, because apart from the main story, there are tons of secrets to find, a lot of side quests, and it's really fun. Most of the time. But that is it for me. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and comment below your thoughts. And stay tuned, because for these past months I've been working on a hardcore Minecraft world that's going to be very big and very exciting, and it will be coming soon, so subscribe for more Minecraft and other block related games. And if you enjoy Harry Potter, you might want to check out my other channel, CyberLocky, which will also be in the description, where I'll be doing more stuff in the Harry Potter games, and especially on Hogwarts Legacy, which is coming out in February. All links will be in the description below, so check that out there. But as always, this has been CyberBlocky. Thank you for watching.